Hey everybody, welcome. We're going to get to know a little bit better Mike and Aleksi Glick. They both live in New York, and Mike lives between Central Park and the Hudson River, and I wonder how he can afford that, my goodness. But they've been affiliated with SAW events for 10 years. It was in 2011 that Mike first got in touch with SAW. Yeah, I was listening to these today and earlier today and getting really psyched up, and now I've got this earworm I love. Let's build a wall around Jesus. So Mike, what would you like to tell us about you and your son, and we'll have him do a rebuttal as soon as you make a statement.
Sure, I'll try to keep it brief and give Aleksi more time, since I usually do too much talking. Well, I don't know. Aleksi, I don't know, in some ways he kind of got into music himself. You know, I sometimes joke and say I taught him everything he knows, but that would be a damn lie. But we always did have music in the house, and I guess he knew I was involved in it. But he's the one responsible for bringing me back to music after being away for more than 20 years when he got to Peabody Conservatory. I think he said, "Dad, let's do some stuff." So,
yeah, I guess what would you guys like to know?
Just anything you want to say about your music and yourself and
Sure.
your dad.
Yeah, I guess. Well, the track that I guess for the Mask Awards that won was this track "Fight or Flight" with my band Snack Cat that had the finalist award. And yeah, that was a song that actually I wrote, I guess, during during the whole lockdown. And it's interesting because that band usually records live, and we kind of workshop things together, but that was a song that actually I kind of wound up just writing on my own and just kind of workshopping in Logic. And we kind of took a bit of a different approach to recording it than usual. As far as the track that I was on with my dad, that on the newest album, that was one that we recorded, I guess, maybe about a year ago, year and a half ago.
You mean "We Shall Be Free"?
Yeah, exactly. "We Shall Be Free." And yeah, I thought that was a fantastic album. I mean, that's definitely I think my favorite album of my father's that he's put out since coming out of retirement, per se. I think it's very, this has a really nice eclectic mix, and he's sounding better than ever, miraculously, even though he gets crazier and crazier each day. But he did a really great job on that album, and it was a pleasure to be a part of.
We've actually got two new songs that we did together with just me and Aleksi. One called "The Bear," COVID Blues, which came out on the January compilation by Hudson Harding, and there's a video up on it for it on YouTube. And then I rewrote and re-recorded, Aleksi and I both, "Living While Black," to update it to include the references to Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And also I put it in the third verse, and that's got a video that's up on YouTube, in fact, and I think that one's an even better video. They're both good videos, but I think the second one, I guess I finally started getting the hang of it. So those are worth checking out.
Well, it's remarkable that your father and son both won awards in this year's contest, and you won previously too. So you've succeeded individually and as a duo, generations, and with other people who accompany you. Kelly, do you have a question you'd like to ask Mr. Glick and Mr. Glick?
I would like to ask two questions. Actually, one is what's the best part about being a musician? What's the most fun or most enjoyable, and what's the most challenging part about being a musician?
Well, I could definitely answer the most challenging part right away, which is the economics of it, But as far as the most rewarding part, for me at least, it's sort of, just first, making a connection with, that, kind of transcends, language, and, just performing is when I'm happiest. I love writing music that reaches people. and the communities that it builds too. And it really, is incredibly rewarding in those ways. So I guess that's my brief answer. I'll pass it on to you, Pops.
What was the question?
What is the most rewarding part about being a songwriter or musician, and the most challenging?
As a songwriter, it's like you're creating a new world whenever you write a song. And, I always feel like my newest song is my best, although there's a few old favorites like Let's Build a Wall Around Jesus. But also, these times, Aleksi, I have to say, is one of the few young musicians who actually makes his living from music, although it's a little bit harder these days. But that's because he's just such a freaking amazing guitar player and is in such demand. He's, he can play anything. He's world class in as jazz and blues for sure. True. And playing with him is also, I get a lot of people who are jealous that I get to play with my son, and then it kind of reinforces how lucky I am.
Jay, what would you like to say and wrap up this segment?
I like the growth in styles that I see across these two generations, and how did you come to jazz as your expression, Aleksi?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, these days I do play a lot of different kinds of music. Jazz is definitely like what I was trained in, and still one of my biggest passions and what I play the most. But I do like, Snack Cat, the group that I lead, that where that also recorded Fight or Flight is more like an R&B funk group. But with that being said, there's a big jazz influence, and we all come from a jazz background. So for me, it's funny, my transition to jazz initially was just like wanting to be a really good guitar player when I was like 13, 14 years old, and just listening to sort of all my favorite guitar players. And then through that, I remember like listening to John McLaughlin and being like, what's this?
Yes.
And his chops were so great. And then the Mahavishnu Orchestra was kind of my transition to like, oh man, there's so many technical jazz guitars like Pat Martino or George Benson, Joe Pass, Wes Montgomery, that are just unbelievable. And then after I think, maybe when I was, 15 years old or something, I feel like I really started to appreciate the music for what it is beyond just the technical abilities of these players. And I just fell in love with, the, nuances and, improvisation of the music. So as far as I write every day, sort of just like office hours. I don't write for the project that I have with my dad. That's more, it's all his writing, and I kind of interpret and help arrange. I write for my group Snack Cat, and I also write a lot of jazz and soul. I'm releasing actually a solo guitar album this coming year, and and I also actually have started to write a lot for television and film as well. During this time, that's been kind of a new thing. So I write every day. I multiple songs, and a lot of it is bad, but I write enough where at least some of it I feel like is pretty good.
Oh, you're too tough a critic.
So yeah, it's just kind of a almost like a numbers game in that way, and but yeah, lately, like I was just mixing a tune with the a really great shakuhachi player. Actually, it's like a Japanese flute. That's kind of this, that's going on this
nice
library album. That's kind of a new thing. I never really composed much for television and film in the past, but just during this time where I can't perform, I've been able to pivot a little bit. And a couple of my friends out in LA that are really involved with film music and libraries and stuff like that, I'm starting to get more involved with. It's kind of
and your approach. Are they giving you ideas about what people might be interested in, or are you generally producing things and then with the idea that they're filmic, in terms of how you approach sync licensing?
Yeah. So for that, it's mostly them giving specific genres that they want and need.
Yeah.
But with that being said, they give me complete artistic creativity within those parameters.
But it's great to have those hints because it really helps you target what you're doing for specific needs.
I always feel. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. No, I was just saying, and I feel really fortunate because also the label that Snack Hat is on, which is Rope-A-Dope, they also give us like complete like artistic liberty too. And as far as for that band, I never think like, the genre is sort of funk and soul with some jazz but I never really, for that band, one really refreshing thing about that is I never think like, oh, I'm writing a soul song. Now I'm writing, genres just kind of blend together. And, that can be pretty liberating too. But for the television film stuff, definitely there are parameters. And then within those, I can kind of create, what I want, which is cool. So at least there's some creativity.
All the people who are successful at that, who are actually making at least a little bit of a coin doing it. I know a lot of people who get stuff placed, but they end up doing it through services that kind of devalue them to the point where they see a 17-cent check for a week.
Yeah, totally. Sort of, in the past I've had stuff in just like generic libraries and stuff, but this latest project, which is unreleased, which is again with the film, it's, it's with this label Empath. That's actually run by the guy who wrote the Kit Kat Bar song. So they've had a lot of like, they're distributed through APM, in the US and, EMI worldwide. So they do have more of like a direct, like I found like, and in the past, I've really just done a bunch of guitar studio work for them. They've had me do some cool things. They had me play on one of the Lego movies and a track with Roberta Flack. And, they have like some really good, definitely things that I feel like have helped, further my career. But this is sort of the first time that with them, which is kind of a little bit more of an official thing that I'm getting involved on the writing side, before I was more studio musician for them. I've done some random, I actually composed, you might like my first gig where I was writing for television and film stuff was actually for one of the shows, for the Washington Wizards, actually, when I was at Peabody.
Wow.
And that was kind of my initial sort of like entry into that world. And then after that, I had a lot of stuff just put in like libraries and stuff, but didn't really get too many hits when they're just in sort of these generic big libraries. And the stuff, these guys that are actually like distributed through APM and people that are really like, just, it's weird. That world I feel like is a little smaller than people realize as far as like where the bigger placements happen.
It definitely is. That's why so many of the people who are selling courses about how to stream online and stuff like that are basically telling you how to spend thousands of dollars to make 17 cents. And,
I know. Sorry, go ahead.
And I just want to because if you're somebody who does this as a hobby and you get on, Longemeyer or some TV show, that is it's bragging rights and it's great and everything. But for people who get into this the wrong way, it's just it's both heartbreaking and also it fills it with a lot of crappy music too. There's a lot of crap music that gets used for streaming because it's cheap.
I just thought it kind of blew my mind when I realized I've known you two for 10 years. And, as soon as
you're talking to him. That's the amazing thing.
But as soon as I met you two, I just felt that you were both like kindred spirits. And it's what the Folk Alliance is all about, meeting people who want to expand their touring circuit and awareness in different areas. And it's a big deal to me.